Tes tes tes. Halo 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 teman-teman, halo. Halo bang Kon. Apa kabar bang? Sehat bang? Widih. Sehat widih, mantap mantap bang. Oke kita gas ya.
Knights and aristocrats
Ngerjain
share the
misi
same
nih.
cultural heritage, but the knights had enough sense
jaga
to do
perut.
away with all the superfluous detail.
Nah, pak tuh. Daily dulu bentar ya. Hengo bang, halo Akmal. Apa kabar Akmal? Widih. Aduh, perutku sakit kali rasanya, mau berak dulu teman-teman. Kenyangan aduh. Bentar ya, aku ngerjain misi baru kita ini ya. Ngerjain misi daily bentar. Mana ya daily? Tuh ganti kata dulu ya. Aku punya lagu buat tembak cewek 100% word. Ini saran teman gua. Apa tuh? Apa tuh lagu Akmal?
Kamisato Ayaka, present.
Pilih ini lah.
Justice.
Mana nih bocah angin? Nah ini dia.
Experiment.
Avatar ya. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah akhirnya. Jadi kenyangan nih. Mana ya? Ini bentar nih.
No, my sword.
Aku ronco ya.
Witness the power of good. Take flight.
Kampret.
Sakura swirl.
Sakura swirl. Aduh gak susah ya. Bentar-bentar aku mau ngatur-ngatur dulu, kampret emang. Malah sempit jadi ya. Jelas tempat dudukku kampret. Oke. Ntar teman-teman aku mau jongkok dulu lah. Gak enak duduk rasanya. Nah. Lebih enak jongkok. Tapi gak enak juga jongkok, lebih baik inilah ngangkang, nah lah enak. Awas ada yang keluar. Tahu aja kamu apa nih. Ntar nggak apa-apa, ntar keluarnya emas kok. Kan kamu mau emas. Ngecit. Woi apa nih Rehan? Ngecit aja semua. Anjir. Weh. Wah, potensi. Mampus di batu kan. Gue pengen gacha tapi nggak cukup lagi ini. Primo game ya. Mana nih? Oh sini. Top up. Matamu top up. Top upin apa nih? Aduh lah. Tuh sumpah loh, aku kayak sakit perut gitu loh rasanya. Mau prot nih. Anjir lah, sakit perut gue. Kampret emang. Giliran nggak nge-live udah kayak apa, nggak ini, nggak mau keluar deh. Udah mau live langsung di ujung tanduk. Duh, gimana cara manjatnya? Live sambil tamu live sambil kampret emang ya. Ada telur. Telur siapa nih? Bang, giveaway skin epic Genshin bang. Tapi kamu yang giveaway Rehan. Giveaway aku ini Han, skin legend Han. Murah kok tuh. Aduh, mana musuhnya tadi, mana selemnya anjir? Gimana lagi? Wah, Santorio, unik. Nggak habis dong. Detik-detik diganti dengan detik, menit pun silih berganti, hari-hari pun terus merubah hidup ini juga pasti mati. Semua ini pasti akan musnah, tetap tidak cintaku padamu. Lagu apa itu? Wame-ame kah? Jual bucin. Kamu bucin pani, budak Cina ya. Jual PC kau aja, Cok. Oh, nggak bisa, Cok. Emang lu mau beli berapaan? Jual PC. Bentar, kemana kan? Duh. Oh ya, aku tahu cara menghilangkan ini ya. Kalau kalian mau ini apa namanya? Sakit perut, mau berak itu, duduk di dekat yang panas itu. Dijamin ampuh hilang berak-beraknya. Udah selesai kan nih? Oh, di sini lagi. 5.000 ambillah kembaliannya. Tamu. 5.000 anjir. Masih ada ini lagi, kocak nih. Itu bang, lagunya yang di request teman gue. Lagu apa itu? Maksudnya judulnya apa gitu? Anjir, aku tidak paham lagu cinta ya. Aku buta dengan cinta ya. Ini udah selesai. Nah, baru misi habis nih. 45. Oke, saatnya misi jalan ya. Udah 15.000 itu bisa beli nasi padang. Tukar sama biji muhan. Oke, nasi nih. Lagu judul Pangeran Cinta. Pangeran Cinta anjir. Wah, kalau urusan cinta aku tidak tahu ini Akmal. Aku tidak pandai cinta-cinta ya. Rehan pandai itu.
Traveler, Paimon. It's been a long time.
Oh, hi, Genshin. I'm Terima. Fancy meeting you here.
Alhamdulillah.
These days.
Ketemu di sini.
Thanks to the help of people like you and
Alhamdulillah,
colleagues like
kenyang kali
you, better all the time. But I've been feeling distracted at work lately. It's a long story. But my father, he's thinking of stepping down from the Tianshu position due to health issues.
Huh? What's wrong with Uncle Tian?
Nothing specifically. He's not unwell. He says he's just increasingly low on energy these days. He's always said, old age comes for us all in the end. Still, I just can't help
Raihan
but
sebut
feel
Tamang, bener.
emotional.
Emang bener tuh, dia raja cinta ya. Bisa dibilang budak
Anyway,
cinta.
my father's currently on the second floor of Yangsheng Tea House. Why don't you come
Terus
pay him a
sekarang
visit with
kan.
me? He seems
Kalau soal
very
cinta
fond
aku
of
tidak
you
mengerti
too.
ya teman-teman. Aku
I'm
soal
sure
ini yang
chatting
tahu
with
ya.
you will make him very
Soal
happy.
apa ya? Nggak tahu juga sih soal apa. Bodoh lah. Ya.
Sure, let's go.
Tapi jangan main-main dengan cinta ya teman-teman, bahaya. Oh ya, ada Jongli ya tuh betul anjir. Lah ini misi apa anjir? Lah aku bisu orangnya. Lah suaranya mana? Mau nanya dong. Nanya apa Cak? Tidak apa sedang mengerjakan sesuatu. Ini apa sih? Cepat banget tuh. Oh lanjut cerita kemarin ya. Anjir bisu, wah ini aku nggak suka sih bisu, aku ngantuk kalau bisu nih. Anjir bisu, aku tidak mau bisu, tidak membaca ya. Sedang memberikan. Terus. Bentar teman-teman, bentar. Oke, WC bentar. Halo, tes. Pasti mau matamu Mana ada aku cuma ini doang, buang air besar. Kenapa? Oh ngantuk, tidak bisa nih, skip aja lah. Paham gitu. Anjir kalau di dong cerita udah ngantuk ya. Skip, baca cepat. Kok lanjut aja di sini ya? Tidak nyambung. Bang, besok 1. Ya besok satu. Besok 1 Sabtu. Ya besok Sabtu. Minggu kayaknya. Berapa tuh? Pas. Apa? Ini kan saya. Wah. Aku dan dah. Oke, terus skip ya. Nggak sengaja ya. Pencet ya soalnya. Kan yang nolong kami tempo hari. Oh iya, lanjutan ini mah. Anjir, cuma menarik aja dibilangnya. Lah iya dong, wajar dapet kipas dong. Wah, jadi dewa kipas kita nih. Terusnya bisa dipakai kah? Enggak. Lah jadi kipas buat apa anjir? Kipas. Tidak ada kipas di sini. Wah, tidak ada kipas ya. Wah, kita di PHP ini. Nah ini misi tadi, misi apa anjir kalau ini? Ini misi kemana? Hah? Ke atas? Gimana caranya?
Uncle Tien, we're here to chat with you.
Oh? What a lovely surprise. Welcome. Oishi, why don't you go downstairs? Get this. I heard that you've been traveling all
Assalamualaikum
over
bang,
the
waalaikumsalam
place.
bang Ikaliku. Halo, apa kabar? Masih ingat saya nggak? Oh ingat lah, Ikaliku. Sorry ya bang, aku nggak nge-live semalam, jaring kan bermasalah ya. Parah, ini barulah kira bisa live ya. Sekian lama ya. Baru lagi ya, aku ingin tahu gitu.
Oishi told you, didn't she? Don't worry, I'm quite all right. It's just the years gradually catching up with me. As I grow older, I'm starting to find that with many things, though the mind is willing, the flesh is weak. I am still very much in good standing as the Tianshu today. Nevertheless, I wish to pass on the position before my mental acuity begins.
How difficult is it to transfer the Tianshu position?
Oh, well, you see, the Tianshu is a rather unique position. Historically speaking, the Tianshu rarely appears in public. We stay behind the scenes, planning and giving advice. So we also want to keep any prospective Tianshu candidates free from influence by outside forces. So we tend to be as discreet as possible in their assessment. For these reasons, the incumbent Tianshu typically recommends their candidate.
Apa lagi nih ya? Tiansu. Aku tidak suka menjadi Tiansu ya.
So in other words, you pick someone, and then Lady Kuching, Lady Ningguang, and the other Qixing appoint them?
Correct. Unfortunately, due to my health, not to despair, however, because I found someone exceptionally capable to act on my behalf as
Ya
a
Mete,
sister
halo Bang
dominant.
Venom. Ya Mete.
In fact,
Halo Fadli.
I believe
Apa kabar,
you
Fadli?
recently
Sehat?
became acquainted with her yourself.
Gak usah takut, sudah dapat orang tepat untuk mewakili aku menilai kandidat orang yang belum lama ini kalian kenal. Nah, sudah tahu aku. Tante Yelan nih.
I'm heartbroken.
Kali
I thought it might take you a
Ntar
little
saja
longer
sudah
than
dilupakan
this to
saya.
forget all about me.
It's Yelan!
Jackpot. Uncle Tian here asked me to assess 3 candidates for him.
3 kandidat. Tadi siapa ya kandidatnya?
Fancy joining
Kalau
me?
tadi nggak baca ya,
You'll be
cepat.
among the first to get to know
Cepat.
the next TV
Apa ya cepat
show.
nih?
Might be
Gal
a
mau
good
aku ikutin.
opportunity for you.
Mau ikut tidak? Wah, ikutlah. Kalau Google mau tuh ikut anjir. Bukan jadi salah satu dari orang-orang pertama yang tahu siapa Tiansu berikutnya kesempatan lo nih. Apakah Bang Venom mencintai Loli? Mana ada aku nggak suka Loli ya. Apa tuh Loli anjir? Loli itu apa ya sebenarnya? Ada yang tahu? Apakah chat saya tidak muncul? Muncul kok ini. Bang Likaliku.
What do you think?
Google gimana? Iya sih, kesempatan tidak minat ah. Wah, yang mana dipilih nih? Oh iya kesempatan lah.
I think so too.
Harus punya
Can't
hubungan
be a
baik.
bad thing to be on good terms with a new Qixing, right?
Ini tokoh utama kita nih ini ya, terkenal ya masalahnya.
Alright then.
Dan banyak disukai orang nih.
Though, I gotta say, Uncle Tian, you say you're into behind the scenes planning? My work's of the covert
Masa aku
variety
tidak
too.
di Tiansu.
Don't you think I might make
Ya
a good
salam.
team?
Ya salam.
They want
sama
you
jadi
to be
Tiansu.
the next Tiansu?
Pamit kalau begitu. Oke bang. Waalaikumsalam. Loli itu artinya bocil. Loli bocil. Bahasa Inggris kah?
I'm not opposed to the idea,
Keberatan tapi
but
kamu
I
sudah lama.
suspect Ningguang wouldn't let you go very easily after how long you've been working together.
Makasih ya bang Likaliku udah mampir ya.
So, how about
Kalau
this?
video lain dia harus di-
If your investigation reveals that none of the other candidates are qualified for the
Ichi Fanny
position,
bocil laki. Wah
I'll
dia
recommend you
penjantan
for the
tuh
job.
Akmal.
Deal. Well,
Langsung
you
tidur
guys
aja.
take your time. Everything's all set for the assessments to go ahead. Meet me on the first floor when you're ready. Until then, have a pleasant conversation.
Bahasa wibu. Bahasa wibu. Kok gak bisa komen? Hah masa iya? Kamu udah komen kok Akmal. Woi apa PP Loli itu bocil cewek. Kalau bocil cowok apa?
Oh, and no need to pay
Sota
for
ya
tea.
cowok. Anjir
As the
Sota
new
cowok.
owner of this fine establishment,
Bahasa apa lagi tuh?
this runs on the house.
Tes kedai ini sekarang sudah punya aku. Anjir. Oh teh kalian semua gratis. Kedai ini kan sekarang sudah punya aku, jadi aku traktir. Anjir kedai punya dia ya. Oh semangat dong si Google ya.
You're
Oh
all
oke.
set?
Ya hati-hati Akmal, dia penjantan Akmal. Suka yang cucu.
Uncle Tian seems really worn down.
Kelihatan.
It's like all his energy's gone.
Yeah, it may sound harsh, but Uncle Tian is past his prime.
Lolo,
He's not cut out
lolo.
for this anymore.
Ya mungkin agak kurang ajar kalau diucapkan tiap. Tapi pemerintah memang sudah masuk ke sipil kerja ini sudah bukan dunia.
So he's
Ini
recommended
misinya
3
apa sih?
candidates.
Bagus, misinya
Names are
menarik apa enggak sih?
Shinwei,
Favorit
Ningguang,
sih aku, wah
and
skip
Zhou
anjir.
Yi.
Kemudian
Shinwei is a wealthy entrepreneur. Minghua works at the Liu Ministry of Civil Affairs, and Zhou Yi is focused on study and travel.
kita ikut tentang politik nih ya.
Try to keep all that in mind.
Saja. Kalau
Of
bocil
course,
laki
it doesn't really
lolo.
matter if you fail, since we'll be assessing them at your high pavilion
Bocil
in a
lolo
short
kalau apa cewek loli. Masuk akal sih. Masuk akal bang, masuk akal. Betul. Kalau cowok lolo ya. Jangan lupa juga tidak apa-apa, sebentar lagi kita akan mulai penilaian dari Yuhai Pavilion apa lagi.
Ningguang? Yuri.
Mesti ingat terus.
Paimon should be able to remember their names, but what does the assessment involve exactly?
Let's leave that until we get to Yuhai Pavilion. All right, heads in the game, people. The stakes don't get much higher than a change in the Qixing. We can't
Oh,
afford
tidak
to
bisa
miss
lebih
anything,
besar.
no matter how small.
Got it. We'll keep our eyes wide open.
Buka mata selebar-lebarnya. Udah buka dari tadi, Bun. Tunggu, si ini akatur kita ngarahnya salah ini ya. Salah fokus ya. Bang, Senin mabar GTA 5. Aduh, GTA 5 aku nggak punya gitu. Di mana download gratisnya gitu? Kalau bayar buset, harganya mahal ya. Pengen juga ya main GTA 5 sih. Belum pernah main soalnya, belum pernah nyentuh juga. Woi, kampret mas itu orang itu.
Remains.
Mati dong, iya dong, kampret emang lah.
What is
Kiku,
wrong with this
apakah
assessment
maksudnya
officer?
sih petugas
This is a huge
penilai
occasion
ini
and I don't even get a chair.
kasih?
I've dealt with all kinds of people in my time, but never have I been made to stand while I'm waiting for an appointment.
Oh, I mean,
Aku sih tidak masalah.
I think it's fine.
That's called being complacent.
Cari cara di YouTube download GTA 5 online gratis.
You'll never be able to change anything in the future.
Bahaya kah download online? Download ilegal lah. Kebiasaan cepat puas begitu. Di depan tidak ada harapan.
Oh, come on. That's just... Now you're just...
All right, you two. Let's not get into a big argument over this. It's Qianwei, that was a bit uncalled for. And Mingbo, cut him some slack. We've all been standing around for a while. It's natural to be getting irritable. Look, how about this? There's no rule saying we're obliged to stand up while we wait, so why don't we borrow some chairs from the guild nearby?
Fine. They're not the best quality chairs, to be sure. But under the circumstances, it would be better than nothing.
It looks like all 3 candidates have arrived. We'll meet them formally soon. Before that, let me run you through the assessment process. I've split it into 2 stages: current affairs and planning, and face-to-face interview. In the first stage, candidates are required to submit a manifesto for Liyue's development. In the second stage, we will ask them some questions in person. Writing a manifesto takes time, so I informed them of this requirement in advance. These are the reports they submitted.
Yang jadi urusan politik ini. Wah, nggak ada tempurnya. Nggak, kata utama kita nggak suka ini ya, urusan politik ya. Tebal banget.
It's also worth mentioning a
Bro, is
stipulation
training
I gave
tomorrow.
them. Whoever is appointed
Training
as the new
tomorrow. Apa
Tianshi
gitu?
will be expected to implement their plan as put
Apa yang mau
forward in the
training nih?
manifesto.
Cara.
Failing the occurrence of some
Dan
cataclysmic
tidak boleh
event,
mengubah
they will
apapun.
not be permitted to change their plan. Therefore, these 3 piles of documents in front of us represent where each candidate stands on key policy issues. There's still some time. Have a skim through, get a first impression of what each person's proposing. I'll be waiting off to the side. Just let me know when you're done.
Wah, kita dijadikan babu, kampret. Lah, mati dong orang kita, kampret lah. Anjir, tewas nih. Makan telur busuk dulu lah, oke. Salah dong, yang atas kocak. Nah. Salah. Tanya dulu ya.
Finished?
Udah. Dikit lagi. Bukan ngapain sudah anjir. Nggak mau kebaca. Gak peduli ya. Bukan urusanku sebenarnya. Sorry.
Finished?
Belum gocak. Tanya dulu nih. Oke, sudah.
Finished, huh? What did...
Everyone took it very seriously.
Of course they did. They have the chance to be picked as the new Tianshu, so you can bet they're putting their best foot forward. And keep in mind, whoever gets in has to execute their plan as written. Nobody wants... That's for me to know and you to find out. We can talk more after the interviews. We'll see the candidates now. Let's do one at a time. Start with Chenwei.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh? So you two are the assessment officers, are you?
Maksudnya nge-game. Maksudnya game istri. Oh. Gimana kocak, gak ada ini, gak ada GTA 5 ya? Ntar deh, gue coba deh, coba cari ya.
Great import of this situation, Lady Ningguang would perhaps be assessing us in person. I certainly hadn't imagined I'd be seeing 2 entirely unfamiliar faces. I trust you've read through my manifesto. I'd be more than happy to clarify any details you found difficult to grasp. It was written with an expert audience in mind, after all.
Mind your tone, mister.
Relax. It wasn't intended as a personal slight against anyone in particular. I was simply stating a fact. Cloud Retainer? You know this Adeptus? Oh,
Yes, I remember now. You must be the traveler that people are constantly talking about. With your sterling reputation, you must have a respectable level of erudition. Perhaps you will be able to understand the concepts I have put forward.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yes. Please introduce yourself.
I'm, Ningbo. I work in the Ministry of Civil Affairs. I've worked there for, 9 years, 5 months, and 3 days. In that time, I've handled, I have 12 active cases at the moment. They should be concluded in, 16 days? My current work is related to urban planning, and I'm also responsible for, auditing the accounts. To be more precise, there are 3 parts to the accounts, namely...
Is it just Paimon
Ke
or
Mr. Ngomor ngomong parah anjir.
public speaking?
You know what? Let's leave the self-introduction there and
Lanjut,
on to some
kita jawab.
questions.
Oke.
Okay.
Gugup dia gara si Yelan ini ya. Anjir. Buset katanya.
Hello. Not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little nervous. What would you like to know? You're here to assess me, so ask away and I'll answer your questions to the best of my ability.
Your manifesto is very wide in its scope, but you don't seem to be personally involved in many of the specific fields. How can you be sure that you have the ability to put your plan into action?
Very fair question. I completely understand where you're coming from. But I'm confident in my plan. I've visited many different places, talked to lots of people with far more expertise than myself, and my manifesto is the conclusion of these efforts. Of course, 2 different problems can be interconnected in very complicated ways, and you might reach 2 very contradictory conclusions depending on which one you're focusing on. What I've tried to do is strike a balance. In other words, present an optimal solution to all the problems as a whole.
How do you plan to determine whether you are right or wrong about your proposed solution being the optimal one?
A great question. Well, I'd start by having my colleagues and the secretaries of the Uehai Pavilion evaluate any proposals before implementation. Post-implementation, it would all come down to the results. If it turned out that my judgment was to blame for poor results, I would take responsibility.
Nice answer. All right, next question.
He seems like a great guy. Everything he said was thoughtful and logical, and he was just a pleasure to listen to.
Here's my take on what we just learned. As you saw, Qianwei is highly knowledgeable. He proposes many excellent ideas in his manifesto, which effectively target the big issues. But he is very proud and incredibly stubborn. He doesn't care much about other people's feelings. Ningguo's plan is more thorough and more
Kita harus
measured.
memilih
You
orang-orang
can
ya
tell
untuk
he's
jualan.
meticulous in his work, very detail-oriented. But he and Shenwei are otherwise polar opposites. Minghua is not very articulate and comes across as very timid in conversation.
Perfect summary. Paimon couldn't agree more. You're good at this, Yelan.
Last but not least, Yi. His manifesto is full of pertinent details, his methodology is sound, and his proposals cover a broad range of fields, which is quite a rare feat. The depth he goes into in each and every area means it can only be a product of painstaking work. Plus, he is modest and good at dealing with people. But what really interests me is that many of his views happen to coincide with Uncle Tien's. Having someone like Yi take the position would certainly put Uncle Tien's mind at rest.
Great.
We'll see. Let's go back and report to Uncle Tien.
Anjir gue jadi cowok ya orangnya. Jadi cowok cewek ya. Lah. Kesini lagi ya, banyak kesana.
Alright, then let me ask this. The ideas in Juri's manifesto are very similar to your own. Is there any particular reason behind this?
I didn't want to say anything when I gave you the list of candidates, for fear of affecting your judgment. But those 3 candidates have all studied under me in the past. It's only natural that they share some similarities with me. But Xin Wei went on to focus on his business, and Ming Guo has always been occupied with his work at the Ministry of Civil Affairs. Of all of them, Juri was with me for the longest duration.
Whoa! So how did you get to know them all, Uncle Tian?
Chen Wei was referred to me by an old friend. Ming Guo came to my attention in the course of my work. As for Juri, that was pure happenstance. We first met while fishing. Gradually, as we got to know each other, we started discussing all sorts of topics. Juri came from a poor family, and his parents died when he was very young. But he was a gifted student and a fast learner. He reminded me of a younger version of myself. So I started out giving him a few words of advice when we were out fishing and noticed how quickly he got on. Quite. And now, all of a sudden, he's grown into a mature young man. It's a joy to see. But it also gets one thinking. The young are growing up, and I am growing old. How time flies. No one can escape the cycle of life.
I don't know, Uncle Tian. You still seem in pretty good shape to me. You might have another few years of work left in you, don't you think?
Oh, you. There's really no need to console me. Having less energy than I used to isn't such a bad thing. It just means I finally have a good reason to retire. Spend my days doing what old men like me should be doing. Go.
Sounds like you sure love fishing, Uncle Tian.
There's nothing quite like fishing to pass the time. And freshly caught fish, they make the most beautiful fish soup with barely any preparation required.
Fresh fish soup. Sounds tasty.
Doesn't it? Also, some time ago, Juri purchased a very special recipe from an old fisherman. When we've been fishing recently, Juri always brings some extra ingredients he prepared in advance. The addition of these makes the soup taste even more wonderful.
Ini Arkon.
That flavor makes
Enggak, bukan Arkon ini.
fond memory.
Story.
But at my age, who knows how many more chances I have left to taste it again.
Oh, can Paimon come next time too? Paimon really wants
Yang
to
mana?
try
Story
it.
ini Tante Yelan ya.
Let's get back to the matter at hand. Uncle Tian, we've reported
Yang story
that...
tadi, yang Arkon tadi, bukan Arkon sih tadi.
I appointed you as the assessment officer, and I trust your judgment. Had you not asked me why Juri's ideas were so similar to mine, I was not going to mention my history with any of them. This
Siapanya
decision
Yelan
must be
ini kakek?
guided by what is fair.
Apa nah?
Please disregard all other
Ini
considerations.
kakek ini siapanya Yelan? Aku juga tahu. Aku juga tidak kenal.
Only after a thorough
Mendengar
review
dia ceritanya
of
ngantuk,
each
anjir.
candidate's talents and capabilities. Remember, you must be thorough.
Understood. Come on, let's go talk somewhere else.
Semangat bang.
Uncle Tian,
Iya
look after yourself.
Udah kesehatan ya. Oke.
So it's gonna be Juri,
Langsung
right?
gitu kan.
His manifesto was
Soalnya
written
bagus
well,
juga kan.
and he's the best speaker.
Easy. Let's not rush. There's no time limit for this assessment.
Huh? So, are you gonna give them more tests or something?
No, nothing like that. The assessment itself is complete. But let me give you a word of
Gorengan
advice.
kereta.
Things are not always as they appear. The biggest no-no in intelligence work is to only get information from the person of interest themselves. The truth is almost always hidden beneath many layers of deception. You have to get information from many different channels. For example,
When you want sangkyouu.
Shanghua.
Yes?
Wanjay, ada ini, ada intelnya.
Lady
So
Ava,
bakso.
what are your orders?
Anjay.
Who are they?
Ini keren kali ya, kayak Fatui ya.
Did
Itu warna
they
biru.
scare you? These two are Wenyan and Shanghua. They work for me. As my trusted assistants, they are always standing guard nearby. They also perform various assignments as required. Shanghua is a business expert who gets his information by trading. Wenyuan relies on word of mouth. And there's also Upe, who's not here right now.
That meathead must have been out there on sea surveillance for some time now. Is he all right? I seem to remember that he can't swim.
Nothing can take
Iya,
that guy
tentang
down.
ombak
Certainly not a
itu
little
bisa
wind and
apa lagi.
waves.
Shanghua, visit all the commerce guilds and look into Qianwei's background. Wenyuan, go to the Ministry of Civil Affairs and look through Mingguo's workforce.
Yes, ma'am.
So what about
Shinji, si gimana?
Zhi, well, obviously, as
Harus
the most
kita
promising
sendiri yang turun
candidate,
tangan.
we will be investigating him ourselves. Let's go to the docks first. Lots of people passing through there. You can find out all kinds of things.
If we're looking for information, why don't we try talking to Bulai, the owner of Wanyu Boutique? He does business up the North Wharf. Maybe he has some news for us.
That's actually not a bad idea. Let's go and ask him.
Bro, kemana lagi? Bola ngapain di sini? Kira bola loh. Kita menyamar ya, jadi ini embun es ya. Kelihatan ya.
Look, your asking price for this batch is just
I don't
too
know.
high. I can't buy it at this price. How am I supposed to turn a profit?
Come on, hear me out. I'm telling you, this is the single best batch of Sunsetias ever. You won't find anyone who disputes that. I accidentally dropped one into a well, and even the water turned sweet.
Even so,
Alright. I'll let you in on a little secret.
Ini ya,
The
bos
boss of Second
sekon
Life
lah.
also wants to buy from me, but I haven't responded yet. If you won't take him, I'll just have to partner with them instead. And neither of us wants that.
okay. Well, when you put it that way, I'll accept your asking price. I'll take all your stock. Don't sell a single one to Second Life.
Dengan bola sudah pergi. Kukira pedang ya, pedagang sama
what are you
bola ya.
doing here? And to be clear, these Sunsetias are mine. I got to them first. Don't get any ideas.
Actually, we want to ask you about a guy called Juri. Have you heard of him before?
Juri? Yes, he's quite well known. I've heard a story about him.
Katanya dia lahir dari
They
keluarga
say
yang
he was born into
berkekurangan, orang
poverty.
tuanya sudah
His
meninggal
parents
sejak
died
muda
when he
dan dia
was young,
dikucilkan oleh
and he was
semuanya.
treated
Anjir, kasihan
cruelly
kali
by
ya.
the local community. One of his neighbors was terribly rude to him all the time, but Juri never retaliated.
Gak pernah balas
And when his neighbor
orang
went
tua itu
bankrupt,
bangkrut,
he
dia yang
even
menolong
helped
keluarga.
support the
Anjay, GG
family.
ya.
He
gini
returned
nih orang
cruelty
baiknya.
with kindness. Injustice with peace offerings. A gentleman of talent and character. And oh, how did I not notice him sooner? In fact, maybe I'm not too late. If I could hire him to be the brand ambassador for Wanyo Boutique.
Oh, he sounds like a decent man. We can finally breathe a sigh of relief.
Why are you asking about
Halo,
me
tes
anyway?
tes. Keluar gak?
You
Aduh,
aren't
aku tadi
looking
dipanggil
for a
ya.
brand
Coba aku selesaikan ini dulu ya.
ambassador, are you? Well then,
Ada urusan
in
dulu ya,
that
teman-teman.
case, the higher bidder takes the... that's Juri right over there. Why don't we go and talk to him?
Where? Where?
Gimana?
It's him, all right. Looks like
Dia
he's
dia lagi
chatting
ngobrol
with
dengan
Terima.
Ling.
Let's
Linglang
follow
ayo.
him and listen in. Try not to let him see you. We want this information to be as truthful as possible.
I'll just go and fetch an employment contract. And hey, don't try and cut me out of
Buat
this.
hey.
Hey!
Kacangin lah. Orang tuh nggak peduli
I
kita nih.
understand. Let's walk and talk.
Tinggal ngobrol lah. Oh, kita jadi ini rupanya. Papa le, lalala. Berketahuan nih.
You're looking to buy a wineware set? Oh,
Papa
now I
le,
can see
papa
that
le,
you're
papa le,
concerned,
papa
so
le.
I won't bother trying to con
Anjir
you.
orang kita.
I trust you understand our
Sa.
shop quite well.
Sa. Anjir dapet kayak gini anjir. Tempat ini. Ketahuan deh. Lah ketahuan pula
Don't
anjir.
get too close, or he'll see you.
Cek gimang ya.
Try not to let him.
I understand.
Harus jaga jarak dong. Sup. Wih, tidak jadi.
So, you're looking to buy a wineware set? Oh, now I can see that you're a connoisseur, so I won't bother trying to con you.
Teman
I
juga sudah
trust you
paham
understand
besok
our
kami.
shop quite well.
The truth is, an old friend of mine who likes to have a drink now and then. He fancies himself as a man of culture, but doesn't care for needless extravagance. So I thought I might buy him a set of high-quality fakes.
How very thoughtful of you. Leave it to me then. Come and collect it at Shigu Antiques whenever is convenient.
Thank you very much, Miss Linlong.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Juri. These days, it's quite rare for someone of your standing to still keep up with their old friends. It's nice to see. I'll be sure to pick out a good set for you. You can count on me.
Lah. Oh nggak kira ketahuan tadi.
Juri seems to get along really well with everyone. Are you satisfied now, Yelan? Seems like everyone thinks Juri's a great guy.
We shouldn't jump to conclusions just yet. Let's go check out the wharf where he usually goes fishing.
Do we have to? Wait, you're not just trying to dig
Jadi
up
kesalahan
some dirt
dia,
on
saya ngomong.
Juri because you want to be
Yang jadi Tian
Tianchi
Sua ya.
yourself, are you?
Maybe I am.
Mungkin iya, mungkin
Maybe
tidak.
I'm not.
Tapi kalau aku
But
yang
hey,
jadi Tian
If
Sua,
I do
kalian
become Tianshu,
juga yang enak
I'll
loh.
look out for you guys.
Kenapa kita
You'll be
pula
able to try all the finest food
masih
for free.
dicicip makanan yang sepuasnya
How does that
gratis
sound?
gimana? Anjir.
Well,
Kapan sogok ya?
off to the South Wharf we go!
Oh iya lupa ngambil hadiah. Bentar.
Add Astro. Thank you for
Oke lumayan.
The wharf is as busy as ever. I hear the anglers here sometimes sell their fish to the nearby fishmongers. Let's see what Uncle Soon has to say.
Welcome. What would you like to buy today?
Kamu tanya-tanya, beli info tanya-tanya.
Sorry to interrupt. We're actually members of the, Liuwei Anglers Association, and we just wanted to ask a few questions about someone. We've heard about this young man called Juri, who's supposed to be a fantastic fisherman. Just wondering if
Ini
you
jago sekali
happen
mancing.
to
Kalau
have
boleh
heard
tahu
of him.
apa namanya?
Whoa! Yelan made up a whole fake identity.
Ah, yes, Jury. He's been making quite a name for himself recently. I've got some friends who travel all over the place, and they tell me everywhere they go they meet someone who's heard of him. Apparently, he had a rather tough time growing up. Had to work several jobs alongside his studies to make ends meet. How does that saying go? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, if there's anything to that logic, he's sure to be phenomenally successful one day.
Yeah, we think so too.
But I'm afraid your Anglers Association might be in for a disappointment.
Why is that?
Kenapa?
He's good at a lot of things, but
Segala bisa, tapi
isn't
kalau
one thing.
bicara mancing
He
dia
fishes
tidak
at the wharf
begitu
and
jago.
sells
Dia
what he
bisa
catches to me
mancing
on occasion.
dan
His
kadang
catches are always mediocre. Not terrible, but equally nothing to write home about. If you're looking to recruit some new members, though, I do know a few top anglers I could put you in touch with.
That sounds fantastic. I've got a couple of other things to attend to right now, though, so why don't I come back some other time and we can chat over a drink?
Sure thing. See you.
Everywhere they go, they meet someone
dia
who's
kenal
heard of
gitu
him.
ya. Ayo lanjut tanya lagi ke yang lain. Anjir,
Come on, let's
capek
keep asking
nanya nih.
around.
Here to buy some fish? It's 300 for one or 3 for 1,000. You better hurry. When they're gone, they're gone.
Hello, we're from the Society for Fish Price Research. We'd just like to ask a few questions.
Wow, she switched identity again.
Society for Fish Price Research? I haven't done anything illegal. Stay out of my business.
Please, don't worry. We're just here to conduct a simple survey. We've heard about a certain Juri who's been selling fresh fish at low prices in this area recently. Do you know anything about this?
So this isn't about me. You should have said something, you know.
Yes, katanya.
I know the guy. I can tell you what I know. I haven't heard anything about him selling fresh fish at low prices, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was him.
Oh? Why is that?
Because he's so poor. His parents died when he was very young, and his alcoholic father still owed a huge amount of debt. No one wanted
Semua ini
anything
bilang
to do
orang.
with him. He was still a kid when he first came to the wharf. His clothes were ragged, and he had a bandage wrapped around his head. And he managed to survive, thanks to Uncle Tien, who gave him some food. But still to this day, he doesn't have a lot of mora to his name. I mean, he can afford to eat and everything, but you'll often see him haggling with others over just a few mora. So, I wouldn't be surprised to find out he's been selling a few fish. It's not like he catches much anyway, so it's not going to affect my business. Don't tell him I said that.
You'd rather he didn't know?
Well, I spoke to him once briefly, and I just had a feeling that he really cares what other people think of him. I think he has pretty low self-esteem, but hey, it's hardly my place to say anything. What he's achieved already puts most people to shame. But nobody's perfect. I just wouldn't want to upset him, that's all.
I see. Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Not a problem. And just for the record, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the price of my fish.
The more times you say it, the less convincing it becomes.
Udah ketahuan anjir ikannya, jangan ikan basi.
Doesn't have a lot of mora to his name. Okay, let's keep going.
Hey, it's you guys.
Pikir kayak kakek anjir, anak bocil.
Honored to meet you. What brings you to me?
The truth is, we are but newcomers to this territory. We heard tell of a great martial artist, Master Dugu, who knows everything there is to know. Hence, we sought you out to ask for your guidance.
Really? People said I know everything there is to know?
But of course, we also heard that Master Dugu is a kind and virtuous swordsman who never turns away anyone who comes with questions.
Great! So what do you wish to know? Nothing happens on this street that I don't know about. Now she she's lying to a kid.
So, Master Dugu, have you heard of one by the name of Jur-E?
Sure have. You mean that guy that all the grown-ups are talking about these days? I've heard many tales of Jury. For example, I can't remember. Probably because it's nothing that important. I prefer stories about sword-fighting heroes.
Oh, I can completely understand that. Then let me ask you this. Do you remember roughly when the grown-ups started talking about Jur-E?
Oh yeah, I know that. It was about 2 or 3 months ago. Before that, people always used to talk about Jury in a kind of nasty tone of voice. But 2 or 3 months ago, suddenly everyone started to like him. Sometimes he gives me candies, so I'm glad that people are starting to like him now.
Just as I thought.
Huh? What do you mean?
I mean, just as I thought, Master Dugu is indeed as kind and virtuous as the legends claim.
I'm not that great. Oh yeah, one other thing. These days, there's a lot of people I've never seen before talking about Jury stories in the street. They seem like nice people.
Oh, definitely.
Great! So next time I see them, I'll say hi. And I guess I can share some of my candies with them too.
Certainly. You can also tell my friend in Yenshang Tea House about what they're up to. I'm sure my friend would also like to say hi to them.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Well then, fare thee well, Master Dugu.
Until we meet again.
Berjodoh. Kita berjodoh nih.
Any of that sound strange to you?
Strange? What was strange about it? Juyi seems to have a great reputation. Uncle Soon and Uncle Gao spoke highly of him, and Dugu Shuo seems to like him too.
True. But
Itu
the
yang
issue
adalah
is,
kenapa dia
where did his
tiba-tiba
sudden
pohon
celebrity come
mencurigakan.
from? It almost seems too good to be true.
Sudden? Too good to be true? What do you mean?
So he returns cruelty with kindness and had to work to support his studies. These are the kinds of things that make someone well known in their hometown. But Uncle Soon said even his friends who travel far and wide hear about him wherever they go. That's a little over the top if you ask me. Do you remember what Dugu Shuo said about Jur-E's stories? Clearly they left him with a good impression of the guy. But beyond that, he wasn't interested in the details. That's the reaction I would expect from any normal person. Plus, there's the fact that all this praise of Jur-E has only been happening within the last 2 or 3 months. His childhood, his studies, the thing with his neighbor. None of these are recent events. So why are these stories only going around now?
When you put it like that, it is kinda strange.
Of course, if that's all there was to it, I wouldn't look into it any further. Jur-E was born into a poor family. Paying people to get his stories out there is within the rules of the game as far as I'm concerned. The problem is, do you remember what Uncle Gao said about him? He's stayed poor his whole life. Everything he's earned he's either spent on studying, traveling, or paying off debts. I don't think he has the mora to pay for a publicity campaign. Right. And that changes everything. It can mean a powerful faction is trying to gain influence over the Liu at Xixing. That's the worst case scenario. But all too often, the most pessimistic speculation turns out to be closest to the truth.
Someone's trying to gain influence over the Qixing? That sounds serious. What should we do? Even if we asked Juyi about it, surely there's no way he'd admit it.
First, we need to find out who's supporting him. Don't worry, I've got a plan. Remember the current affairs and planning stage of the assessment? Since the successful candidate is duty-bound to implement their plan after taking office, their manifesto tells us their stance on key issues. Whoever is secretly helping Jur-E must be seeking to benefit from his actions after his appointment. So, we should be able to find some hints in Jur-E's manifesto on who we're dealing with. Come on, let's get back to Yenshang Tea House.
Lah, sini lagi.
Jur-E's manifesto covers a huge range of topics. Looking for details that don't add up would be like trying to find a needle in a haystack. I'll divide the reports into 2 piles. You take one, I'll take the other. When we're finished, we'll put our heads together. Officially, the assessment is already over, and I'll be expected to announce the results before long. So we have to get to the bottom of this as quickly as we can.
Yikes! We better hurry!
Whatever else Uncle Tien might think of Jur-E, the fact remains that he's one of his favorite students. Any evidence he's left is not going to be immediately obvious.
Gak
We'll have
domain
to
bang.
look carefully and think
Enggak,
critically.
domain itu apa ya? Apa itu domain? Ya kan kelewatan lah gara-gara Fanny kampret mah. Pernah aku mau baca loh.
Even though Yelan took half, this is still a lot to get through. Well, you gotta start somewhere.
Buat jalan lah. Senang menjadi babu tefat ya bang. Bosan anjir. Ngeliat si traveler ngapain anjir ngurus politik anjir. Tujuan kita nyari adik kita malah ngurus urusan negara anjir. Memang nih ada. Kalau aku jadi dia nih langsung menguasai dunia loh.
All this reading is giving Terima a headache. Let's take a break.
Looks like I'm the first one back, as usual.
Oh, hey! It's one of Yelan's little helpers.
Kursinya dan mau koyak bang. Kursinya dah mau koyak.
If you're back,
Ini sampai encok kursinya anjir.
you finished investigating Chinwei,
Selesai
right?
menyelidiki sekian
You
wih.
betcha. I visited all the commerce guilds and gathered a wealth of information. Every time they asked me to leave, but I always had another trick up my sleeve.
Don't drag this out. Just tell us your findings.
Yes, Lady Yelan. To summarize my findings, most people who've had interactions with Qianwei will start out complaining about how proud and arrogant he is, but then go on to give a generally positive appraisal of him. The young master of the Feiyun Commerce Guild said that Qianwei appears arrogant, but he's very scrupulous in the way he works. Once he signs a contract with somebody, he treats them fairly regardless of their background.
Who'd have thought?
Is it possible that his reputation is fake? Is there any way you can check the accounts of the businesses under his name?
In theory, that should be very difficult. But here's the thing. I asked around and found out that almost all of Qianwei's accounts are open to the public. Where he buys from and sells to should be confidential business information, but he doesn't seem interested in protecting it at all. Qianwei often sees business opportunities that others don't, but once he's made enough mora off of it, it's like he gets sick of it and releases all of his trade secrets. It's like he wants people to know that they still can't beat him, even if he shares all of his secrets. The fact that someone like that can still make mora is pretty infuriating when you think about it.
What a strange guy. It's like he's not doing business to make mora, but instead...
To validate his theories. No wonder his manifesto contains so many insights. It's all the result of his first-hand experimentation.
I'm back! Huh? How come you're here?
Why do you think? Obviously, because I possess superior skills and am always one step ahead of the competition. Well, when you're the competition, at least.
You... Whatever. I'm not getting into an argument with you. If I hadn't had something else to take care of on the way, I would have been back long before you. Lady Yelan, I have finished investigating Minghua.
Well, we're all ears.
The Ministry of Civil Affairs says that Mingbua struggles to get his words out when he gets nervous, especially when he's chatting with strangers. But after a few days of getting to know him, you can pretty much have a normal conversation with him. On the whole, the feedback from the Ministry of Civil Affairs was very positive. He always considers the things that everyone else overlooks.
In your opinion, was the Ministry of Civil Affairs' appraisal of Mingbua at all exaggerated?
I don't believe so. Mingbua is someone who has slowly but surely earned the reputation he has today. According to Miss Yu, the Ministry often gets Mingbua to take a final look at projects before they're implemented. People feel much more confident in something if it has his stamp of approval. Oh, and also, there was once someone in the Ministry who was lying and cheating to try to advance their career. Mingbua gave them the scolding of a lifetime. Apparently, he can be terrifying when he loses his temper. I haven't seen it for myself, though.
Whoa, that's hard to imagine.
Like I said before, things are not always as they appear.
Ah, so that's what you meant by that. I'm starting to get it now.
Thank you both. You're free to go now. So, have you finished reading the manifesto?
Nggak ada yang dibaca.
Still have a bit left.
Bingung anjir.
I can't see any immediate problems looking at the individual entries. The only one that strikes me as a little unusual is the Cheongshu Pool redevelopment plan. Cheongshu Pool has always been home to many secrets. Plus, Ajdaha once wrought havoc there, so there are even more secrets buried deep underground. At some point, a rumor began to go around that there is great treasure buried beneath Cheongshu Pool. A long time ago, with the approval of the Qixing, a mining team conducted an exploratory excavation there.
So, did they find any treasure?
None. The ruin was completely impenetrable. The only way they could have gotten through the solid rock would have been by blowing it open with a special kind of explosive. The technology wasn't mature enough at that time, so the excavation project was shut down and the treasure became a mere legend. Zhi-Yi's manifesto focuses on solving problems, and this treasure hunt seems extremely risky. It seems out of step with the rest of his plans. Still, this one fact alone doesn't tell us much. Everyone wants to get their hands on this treasure. The treasure hoarders, the Fatui, even local Liyue factions. Did you find anything?
Excavation? Project? Treasure? Did we read anything similar in our half of the manifesto?
Ini tadi.
Oh yeah! Zhi-Yi said the Blackcliff Forge workers should get right of first refusal if any suitable projects come up.
Did he now? Well, that makes everything much clearer. So Zhi-Yi wants the Blackcliff Forge to excavate the treasure of Cheongshu Pool.
Does that mean the Blackcliff Forge is Zhi-Yi's secret supporter?
No, not likely. I've looked into the Blackcliff Forge before. They aren't involved with any powerful factions at present. They do possess some specialized explosives, but it would seem more trouble than it's worth to put so many resources into a risky project like this. Still, since the clues are pointing toward the Blackcliff Forge, we should see where they lead. We may well find something new.
Disuruh kemana lagi nih, ya ampun.
But both turned out to be
Ternyata
completely
beda sekali
different than
dengan
what
apa
we
yang kita
thought.
bayangkan.
What about Zhi-Yi? Is there another side to him too?
Dah. Sini, oh, kesini aja lah. Ke UFO kita ya, naik UFO, ini UFO. Ya, penampakan UFO ya teman-teman.
Come with me. Let us find shelter from the rain.
This is the Blackcliff Forge.
Forks.
Let's look around for clues.
Cari petunjuk sini. Anjir, masih nyari petunjuk. Kampret emang nih ya. Tidak terjadi apa-apa hari ini. Tidak terjadi apa-apa hari ini. Hari gajian. Jadi apa ini?
What's this? A diary?
From the back, it looks like a ledger, but it seems they also use it as a site
Catatan
log.
lokasi.
We don't know who wrote it, but it's interesting, don't you think? These newcomers, who could have sent them?
You think they're suspicious?
Yes. Look, it says right there, one of them's already been promoted to team leader. At this rate, by the time the sangkyouu redevelopment plan is ready to roll, they'll be the technical backbone of the team. That'll give them the chance to take a lot of liberties. They can copy any secret texts or steal any treasure they find underground. Imagine if we didn't suspect anything. By the time jika recommends the Blackcliff Forge for the excavation project, at most we would maybe do a fresh background check on the place. No red flags if all they did was change some key staff. And even if we decided to vet the staff individually, they'd have had more than enough time by then to come up with fake identities. That's the advantage of planning this far in advance. It was a clever move.
When you put it like that, it all makes sense. If we hadn't found this out, someone else would have stolen the treasure. So, who's really behind all this?
That's a question for the newcomers. But let's start with that worker over there for now.
Oh. Ya harus ditanya dulu ya. Ya udahlah. Oke lah sampai sini ya teman-teman. Thank you ya udah yang menonton dan mau mampir. Kayak panjang gitu ya kampret emang. Oh ya udahlah aku mau off dulu sejam ya. Soalnya ntar lagi aku ini ada urusan. Thank you ya udah mampir. Makasih Akmal, makasih Fadli, makasih Bang Kelinku, Fani, sama Bang Kon. Thank you ya semuanya. Aku mau off dulu ya. Bye-bye semuanya. Terima kasih. Dadah semuanya. Jangan lupa senyum ya.